Today, I want to share with you how I learned how to design user interfaces in Figma at blazing fast speeds using styles and components. Hey everyone, it's JC here, designer at CodeWithChris. So I was a copywriter by profession, but I always had a passion for design in general and later on developed a strong interest in UI and UX design. Now, I'm becoming a better designer every day through practice and study, and this series is about that journey. If you have an interest in design, I hope I can inspire you to pursue it. Without further ado, let's start learning design. So, episode 1 is going to be all about how I learned how to design fast using styles and components in Figma. But before we dive into that, I first want to introduce you to the principle or the framework behind all this, which is the atomic design framework. Ooh, buzzword. I know, but give me a minute here. It'll be quick. So the ADF is a framework that was authored by Brad Frost, who also happens to be a designer, speaker, consultant, and he came up with this framework to help anyone understand the process of effectively building a digital product like a website or an app. So the ADF goes like this. So we have the atoms, the molecules, the organisms, templates, and pages. So first are the atoms. So if you remember your science class, atoms are the most basic element of matter in the same way that it is the most basic element in a UI. So in a UI, these are usually the colors, the typography, pictures or illustrations, and icon set that you'll use in your UI. So basically, these are the most bare minimum elements that are needed in your interface. So if you are going to follow this framework, you need to work on your atoms first before you start moving on to your organisms, molecules, and so on. And once you've identified those, you move on to the molecules. So molecules are like elements like buttons, input fields, search fields, and so on. And then after that, you combine these molecules and then you form a organism or organisms. So organisms are basically combined molecules, as you can see here. So these are buttons and three buttons, individual buttons that were combined and they form a tab bar. So as you can see, some examples of organisms are sidebars, tab bars, headers, and so on. So from there, put all your organisms together and you'll have a template like what you can see right here. So in this template, we have the header and the tab bar, and we're referring to this as a template because we can always drag and drop these templates or copy and paste these templates into whichever page that we like or whichever page that it is suitable. As an example, just copy and paste this one, copy and paste this one as well. And from here, we'll just change the indicator to contacts, drag it to the contacts, and change this to contacts. And that's a template. So we can always change the details like the page title and all other content accordingly depending on what we want because essentially it is a template and it functions as any other template that you know. So finally, after you have a template, you can now combine these together and have a page like a home page, product page, setting page, which are now elements on the final stage of your UI design process. So here, for example, what I'm going to show you is just create the body of this chat list page or the home page of the chat app. And here's an example of an organism. So this contains the atoms such as our type or typography and a picture that we showed you a while ago. So from here, I'll just duplicate this, Command D, and let it fill the screen just like that. So here we now have a full-fledged homepage of the chat app. And basically, that's all you need to know about the ADF or the Atomic Design Framework. So the reason I wanted to share this with you first is because this is the same framework that I also follow here at CodeWithChris when designing apps. And as a result of that, I am able to create a full-fledged UI within a day or two. Well, of course, provided that the requirements and wireframes have already been approved. So yeah, the main reason why you want to follow this framework too when designing your own UI is because it's efficient. It's as simple as that. When you work and finalize elements starting from the smallest one, you lessen the time that you'll have to spend tweaking or finding the colors or fonts, for example. Also, if you're also coding your own UI, then this is also another reason why you should go down this route because this way you're already able to organize the assets that you'll need later on in the project. So, how do we materialize this framework in Figma? Well, we can do that with style guides and components. And for this video, we'll use the homepage and chat page of our newly released chat app as reference. Make sure to check out codewithchris.com to know more about that mini course. All right, so for our atoms, we'll basically choose a few colors and font styles and icons that we'll use for these pages only, the homepage and the chat page, as I mentioned. And basically for our style guide, since we're only using 2 pages as an example, we'll just keep it as simple as we can. But of course, if you're going to create a style guide for an actual project or an actual app with more than like 30 or 50 pages, then it makes more sense to have a comprehensive style guide. But I hope this would give you an idea on how to get started. All right, so from here, let's just say that these are the colors that I'll be using, that I want to use for the UI of the chat app. So let's just say that we already skipped that part. So you can always choose whichever color palette that you want for your app. So in my case, these were the colors that I wanted to use. So from here, let's just create the styles. So create a style by clicking on color, press on the right panel, click on style, and click on the plus icon to create style. So here, let's just say this is the blue slash primary, and that basically converts it into a blue category or blue group. And this is the subcategory, which is the primary. So here's another example. So click on the plus icon again, so blue slash secondary. And when you click on the icon, you see that this is the blue. The subclasses are primary and secondary. So that's basically how styles work in Figma. So let's just fast forward this, but I hope that that gives you an idea already. All right, so we're done with creating styles for our colors. So if you click on the empty space right here, you'll see all the color styles listed on this right panel. So you have the blue, primary, secondary, background, primary, secondary, text, primary, secondary, and tertiary. So basically, these are all the colors that I want to use later on in this project or in this video. But yeah, also don't worry if you're going to have some changes here later on. If you feel like the colors don't fit your taste, if you want to change them, you can always do that. But basically, I hope this gives you an idea on how to create styles and how to apply them efficiently as you move towards your project. So let's move on to our font styles. So this one is heading 1, subheading, paragraph, semi-bold, caption. So here, let's just say that this is already the font properties that I want to use for my heading. So what I'm just going to do is create a style, text style, click plus, and make sure this is named as heading 1 or H1. And there you go. And this one is create style, subheading. So let's just fast forward this again. All right, so we're done creating the font styles or text styles for our demo project. So click on the empty space right here again. So as you can see, we now have a list of our text styles, our subheading, our heading 1, our paragraph styles, and I think we can delete this. All right, P1, a regular, semi-bold, and caption. And yeah, that's our style guide. And it's as simple as that. So next we move on to our components. So from here on out, from the molecules to pages, we'll be using components as often as we could. And in a few minutes, you'll know why I think that this is more efficient. All right, so once we're done with our atoms, let's create our molecules. So our molecules, let's just use this too as reference. So our molecules include the buttons, and I think that's it. Molecules such as the buttons and this chat bubble. I think these are our molecules. All right. So with our icons, by the way, these are also part of our atoms, and we don't need to create a style guide for this because we just downloaded this from the internet, like on open source icons pack. So you can just copy and paste this to your Figma workspace, and you don't need to do anything apart from modify them according to your UI. But when it comes to styles, there's no need to style them like what we did a while ago. All right, so here, let's just create the chats button. So here, let's pull up this icon, type in chats. And as you can see, let's remove this style and make sure pull up our caption regular style and drag it here, select them both, press Shift A, convert them to auto layout, and then make sure that this is 4 and the alignment is in the center, and change the color to make sure to go to selection, change the color to maybe text secondary. From there, pull up this new chat icon, just select this chats. You can just duplicate this, new chat. And maybe this one can be paragraph 1, something like that. Yeah. Or we can stick with caption. Keep it consistent. And select them both, Shift A, 4. Same goes for contacts. Let's drag it here. Change this to contacts. Change the color to secondary text. Select them both, Shift A, and press 4. Make sure it's vertically aligned, horizontally centered. Let's remove the shadow here. All right, there you go. So these are our molecules, but we can modify them just a bit more. So we can change this to blue. Change the selection colors to blue instead. This one will be blue, and that's a lot better. So since this is a chat app, we want to emphasize the new chat button because that's the main action that we want them to do. So once we're done here, we now have a set of molecules. So each of them are molecules. So we're not grouping them just yet because we'll do that later on. But yeah, having them individually as buttons are considered as molecules. So next up is, let's put this outside. Next up is the chat bubble. So let's just copy paste, or maybe let's just pull up our Lorem Ipsum plugin. So you can download this on the Figma community, Lorem Ipsum, the name of the plugin. So, oops, let's just type in, create a text layer, pull up the Lorem Ipsum again, make sure that maybe, yeah, 2 sentences is good. Paragraph 1, P1 regular, change this to caption, change the color to text tertiary, and make sure that this is wrapped properly. Let's just delete. Oh, let's just delete this later on. But yeah, after this, press Shift A, select the text, press Shift A, and then since this is a chat bubble, we want to make sure this is maybe 30 or 32, and then add the background fill to blue. I want change this to P1. Change the color to background, and then change the padding, maybe 16, 16, and maybe just keep it 16 all throughout. All right, that's good. And then next thing I want to do is to keep this lower right corner 0, and that maintains it as a it's a more realistic chat bubble. So chat bubble sender. So you as a sender will have this blue chat bubble. I think that's good. We can always modify the size of this later on, but basically that's how it should work. Full container. All right, so now we have organisms. Next is, yeah, this is our next organism that we need to, this is our next molecule that we need to do. So we have our input field right here. So let's create the input field, type in 2A's. Let's zoom in, type in the 2A's, press Shift A. Make sure that the corner radius is around 50 maybe. And then make sure apply a fill to that. Background layer is secondary. And just stretch this as far as you can, or as far as you want. And then change the text color to tertiary or maybe secondary, because this is just like a placeholder. Then after that, we now have an input field. So let's just double check on the width of this. So this is 285. All right. So you can always change this. I just wanted this to be the same as my original design. So you can always change this later on. All right, so once we're done, next is create our organisms. Or wait, before we do that, we also need to create Chris's picture. So we don't have Chris's picture here. So what I want to do is to just copy and paste this picture. Oops, what happened? Let's just detach this Chris's picture and copy and paste this here. So let's just say that I imported this from my desktop. Doesn't really matter as long as you have a picture. We can use as an avatar. And from here, select your picture, frame selection, right click and frame selection. Let's rename this to avatar. Next, change this to 100. Make sure that it will be a circle. The square will be converted to a circle, just like that. Since, as you can see right here, Chris's face is like going beyond the boundaries of the frame or the circle. So what you want to do is to clip the content just like that. So let's change the fill to maybe blue. And just like that, good to go. Let's just change the, I think that's okay. Anyway. All right. So let's just change the stroke, apply some stroke here. Outside to is good. And resize this to maybe 24. Sorry, let's make sure to select Chris portrait here or the picture that you're using and select scale. Make sure to select scale before you resize so that the picture itself inside the frame will be able to scale as well. So change this to 24. Oops, select the frame, 24, there you go. Or maybe that's too small, then use 32. Or maybe 44. All right, it's good to go. Outside, 1, 2. All right, so now finally, we now have our set of molecules. So from here, we can create organisms, but before we do that, I just want to create the frame finally so that we can have a better scale. So open up the frame tool, select the any preset that you want. Here, I want to use the iPhone 11 Pro preset or the iPhone 10 preset, and I'm gonna rename this as chat homepage. All right, just like that. Here, using our atoms, using our set of style guides, we'll just change the background color to primary. And then finally, we can create the organisms of the tab bar. So let's do that. And press auto layout and add a background color. Just like that. And let's put it right here. Change the padding to 32, 16, 20, and 20. Good to go. Make sure it snaps. There you have it. Make sure they're all aligned in the middle. And from here, just make sure that it is vertically packed. So here, I just want to make this something like 8. So the reason that they have different padding is because a while ago, as you can see, the new chat button was slightly off center. So it was a bit to the left. So I just modified the padding just a little bit so that it won't affect usability. Anyway, they are just 2 pixels so that the new chat button will stay in the middle, just like that. All right, so from there, next we now have a tab bar. What I want to do next is to create the list organism, the list row. So here, let's just type in Chris Ching, duplicate that, plug in placeholder lorem ipsum generate text. So change this text style to caption. I'm going to change the color to text tertiary, and P1 change the text style to semi-bold, something like that. Or maybe regular is okay. Maybe semi-bold is okay. Select them both. Make sure to press Shift A again, auto layout. There you have it. Oops. Let's rename this to main text. Change the spacing to 4, or maybe 0. Just 4, keep it clean. And then from here, let's just resize this a bit. Oops. Select this text layer, the lorem ipsum, the placeholder. Make sure it's fill container. And then we can just resize this accordingly. So let's delete this. Just crop that text. So from here, you have 2 frames. As you can see, there's the auto layout frame. There's a normal avatar frame. Next, select them both and then press Shift A, and that will convert them into an auto layout. From here, change the spacing to 16. This is the list item. From here, change the padding to 20, 20, 16, or maybe 12 and 12. Change the background color to the app's background color. From there, now have a list item. But as you can see, it's going beyond the boundaries of the frame. So the quick fix to this is to just resize the text, make sure that it's fill container, just like that. And just remove this excess text, put in three dots there. And there you have it. Also, we forgot to put some time here. So caption is good. Text tertiary, make sure that the text color is in tertiary, and just add this just like that. So that's the beauty of auto layout. You can just drag and drop things and it will automatically snap to your frame. So, okay, so let's resize this again. This was the original state. Let's resize that. And as you can see, resize that. And I think we still have excess text here. So let's just do this again, or maybe something like that. And there you have it. So now you have a list row that goes from edge to edge. So this is basically our organism. We now have a list item. All right, so I hope you now have an idea of what atoms, molecules, and organisms are. I hope my demonstration worked or helped your understanding. So what's left for me is to create a heading here that says chats and homepage or something like that. So using our existing atoms, or I think I could consider them as molecules, because these icons themselves are standalone secondary buttons. I treat them as secondary buttons because they are located here in my wireframe. In the original wireframe that I did, we have the text here, and these 2 buttons here can be found in this section right here. So we'll just recreate that from scratch. So type in chats, change this to H1, then let's just select them both, and just like that. So from here, what I'm going to do is to select them both again, press Shift A, convert them to auto layout, change the spacing maybe 8 or 12, maybe 16. That's good. Change their color to text secondary and change this color to text primary. All right, from there, what I'm going to do is to select all of them, both of them, this frame and this chats, and press Shift A again. And there you go. This now we have the heading organism, or header rather. I think its header is much more appropriate. So header, let's just snap this to the top and change the padding to 64 and 32. And change this to 20 and change this to 20 as well. And of course, you want to make sure that they are spaced between, just like that. And make sure that they are vertically aligned or horizontally aligned. I'm really not sure which one is which. And there you have it. You now have a chat's header. So now we have a template. We now have a set of organisms right here. We have the header. Just to recap, we have the header, the list item, and the tab bar. So these are a collection of organisms. These are a collection of atoms. So these are a collection of atoms, and these combined, they form a molecule, and combined, they form an organism right here. So this is one organism, second organism, third organism. So combine them together, and now we have a template just like that. So why template? Because I can just simply duplicate this, and now we have a chat's homepage. And it's as simple as that, right? So yeah, if you want to have a better understanding of this, we can always copy paste this system and gesture or home button. So let's just copy and paste this here, and we'll have a better scale of the app's UI home indicator. Copy and paste this here. Now we have a chat homepage. We just redid the chat list from scratch, and I think it's pretty much identical to what I initially or what I originally designed. So next up is the actual chat view using this bubble, the input field, and all the remaining components right here. So let's just duplicate this again and remove this. Change this to subheading. Type in Chris Ching because this is the actual chat. And let's just find a back button. So like I said a while ago, you don't need to worry if you don't have anything laid out right from the beginning, as long as you have most of them at your disposal. So here, as you can see, I'm looking for the back button. I think this works. All right, so what I'm going to do is just drag it here, select them both, and make sure that they are an auto layout frame, and change the direction to vertical, just like that. Change the spacing to 0, and just like that. I want to change this to 24. There you have it. Maybe change this to 6 or 8. And it's much more suitable. So from here, what I want to do is to add an avatar right here. So what I'm going to do is just click on this avatar frame and drag it right here. And there you go. You now have a header for our chat view or chat page rather. And next thing you want to do is just delete this, because this is essentially a new page. So we can always change the background color of this if you want to add a little bit of dimension. So maybe pure white. If it's not there, you can always choose pure white, just like that. just like that. So our header became pure white, and I think it's much better because it adds a little bit of dimension, so it's not super like uniform from top to bottom. All right, there you have it. And then from there, we just need to drop this. Oops. So from here, we'll create another organism. So we already have our molecule right here, the chat bubble. So what's left is to add the time which it was sent, for example. So just click here and drag and drop, copy and paste it just beside this chat bubble or anywhere you prefer. Then press them both, select them both, press Shift A, make sure that they are spaced between and that they are in the center. So from here, let's just drag it here, snap them to their edges, and make sure that the padding is 20, 20. Next is you can always duplicate this, create another molecule, receiver. So this one, let's just change the corner on which we have a 0 value. So here we have the lower left, change it to 0, change this back, revert this to 32, and change the color to blue secondary. Change the color to text color to text primary. And just duplicate it, drag and drop, select them both, press auto layout, center, space between 20, drag it there, and there you have it. So depending on your preference, you can always set a uniform padding like here. So we have 20 all throughout. You can set 16, 16, 16 to save some space, or you can even set 12, 12 to save some space. And what's next is to create a component. So from here, I want to create a component because this is basically close to final. Create a component, rename this to chat bubble receiver, chat bubble sender. And what I want to do is to combine them as variants. So select them both, combine them as variants. So from here, just drag it somewhere away from this chat page. So I can always just, so from here, I can just select this, hold Option, and drag it here. So what this essentially does is now that I have a component that I can change the property for when I would design later on. So all I needed to do was to create like 2 sets of properties for this chat page or chat bubble. And from here, I can just duplicate them. So Command D, I pressed Command D, duplicate them again. I just kept on duplicating them. And from here, I can just change the property of this to receiver, just like that. So now we have a chat page that was just designed in around 5 minutes, I guess. So let's just say, for example, in a specific scenario, this chat bubble had very small text within it. So we can always just delete one and the chat bubble will automatically wrap around that text. So that's the beauty of auto layout. You don't have to worry about stuff not being able to wrap around properly. So a while ago, as you can see, I deleted them, but this item here did not follow the boundaries of this. So they still have that space between them. So to solve that, what I want to do is to create, select them all, basically, and press Shift A and convert this to auto layout and rename this to body. So this is basically the body, this is the header, and we have an input field later on. We'll design it here. So from here, since this is an auto layout, let's say, for example, that you replied four or five words, delete this, and now that automatically wraps around that body text. So yeah, that's basically how I designed this chat app, 36 screens in one day. And we just need to finalize our input field. So put the send and camera icon here, change this to blue, and change this to maybe something like that. Yeah, that works. All right, so next we have them all aligned. Don't worry if they're not aligned, you can always just modify them later on. So from here, select them all, press auto layout, and select them, make sure that they're aligned. And 16 or 24, oops, or 16, it's okay. You can always change them, make it input section. All right, so from there, we now have our input section, our input field. Just final some changes to 20, changes to 20 as well, and change this, change the width of this to a bit smaller. So just so that we'll be able to snap this on the sides. Now you have one, change this to 32, change this to 24. This is not, since this is just a secondary action. So now you have the input field, and you can just always put the tab bar back and the input field. Let's adjust this to the oops, before we do that, and the input field, let's just adjust this to the side. But before we do that, as you can see, when you drag something inside this body frame, it will automatically go inside this frame, and we don't want that to happen. So to prevent that, we just need to click on the body and lock it. You just lock so that whatever happens, it won't snap inside that frame. So going back, let's just change this right here, modify it right just like that, and change the background color, by the way, to something like this. And there you have it. Change the padding to 16 and 16. There you have it. We now have the chat page. So I shared with you how to create components of this, so you can use them. You can also apply them on the list item if you want to create a different screen that shows unread messages. So from here, let's just create component. And here, let's just modify this. Text will be primary as well. So this is basically a text that hasn't been read yet. So just like that. So create components as well. So rename this to list item and unread. Select this one, list item / read. As you've probably already know, select them both, combine as variants, and put them away. And from here, what I want to do is just drag it here and delete all of them, because we now have a component. We don't have to worry about them, and duplicate them and keep on duplicating them as they reach the bottom of the tab bar, or as they reach tab bar section. All right, so now let's see our components in action. So this is red. Let's say if it's on red, just like that. And that's how I designed these things very fast in Figma. So I know that this video, the length of this video may say otherwise, that this is not as fast as you thought it would. But yeah, once you master components, it will allow you to design things very, very fast in Figma, because you don't have to recreate them from scratch. You can just rely on your components and let them do the work. So here's one final example. Let's say I want to put an indicator here on the tab bar. Let's create a rectangle and change the height to maybe 10. Oops. Yeah, change the height to maybe 10, and the width maybe 48, something like that. Or maybe change it to 8. Change the corner radius to maybe 16. Oops. 16 and 16. So that, as you can see, we have this sort of like blade-esque of an illustration, and let's lock this tab bar. Select this tab bar. Let's unlock it and make sure frame selection so that this rectangle will go inside this frame but not inside this tab bar auto layout frame. So let's just put it down a bit, put it in front. Your tab bars should be in front so that it won't, so that it'll naturally cover this body items. So tab bars and heading items should be in front and the body will be underneath those. So let's just put it back. Let's snap it just like that. Change the height to maybe 6 or 4. Yeah, 4 is the sweet spot for me. Change the width to 48. Just like that. And change the color to primary blue. Now we have an indicator that indicates that we are in the chats page, chats homepage. Lock it. All right. So from here, let's just duplicate this, hold Option, then create another one. Drag it to the contacts page, contacts button rather, and then name this as contacts or tab bar / contacts. So duplicate this. This will be tab bar / chats, something like that. Let's add space here. All right, so from here, just create component, Command Option K, Command Option K. Then from here, select them both, combine as variants. Now you have a collection or a component, parent component of tab bar that you can use for chats and contacts pages. All right, so here's an example. If I want to, so if this is the chat page, I can just drag it here, place it in front, but not super in front. The home indicator should still be in front. There you go. So let's say, for example, this is the contacts page. What I'm going to do is just simply select the property, select this, select the property, switch to contacts, and that's it. We now have a tab bar for the contacts page. All right, atoms, check. Molecules, check. Organisms, check. Templates, check. And now we just designed 2 pages using those things that we just mentioned. So I apologize if this video wasn't as short as you thought it would. So it's ironic that we're talking about designing fast and efficient, and this video goes on for like 20 or 30 minutes, but you can't rush learning. So I hope this video gave you an idea on how you can design very fast in Figma still, using styles and components, even if it took quite some time. Now, this is just the tip of the iceberg because there are so many things that you can do with components, like creating a design system for your app or company brand, something like that. But since we are all beginners here, including me, yes, I consider myself a beginner because I still have a lot to learn. I wanted to share what I learned so that you'll be interested in exploring the vast potential of styles and components in Figma, or even Figma as a whole. With that said, thank you for learning design with me, and I'll see you in the next video.